Have you ever felt like you were different? Like you were meant for something more? That you don't quite fit in because your soul is on a mission others can't see? Let me tell you something powerful. You were marked by God before you were born. Yes, chosen one. Your life carries divine weight. And this video will reveal the surprising signs and spiritual truths that prove your prophetic destiny. Watch closely because by the end, you'll understand why you've always felt this pull towards something higher. From the very beginning, even before your soul entered this world, you were marked by God. Not just to exist, but to awaken, to rise, and to fulfill a divine calling that would touch lives, heal hearts, and shift spiritual atmospheres. While others may wander through life unaware of their true essence, chosen ones come into this world with a different kind of weight resting on their shoulders. The weight of prophetic destiny. Your birth may not have been celebrated with signs and wonders. You may have entered through struggle, dysfunction, or silence, but that does not mean you were forgotten. That's often the very mark of the chosen. Many who are chosen by God are birthed through chaos because pressure produces diamonds, and divine preparation often begins in the shadows. Maybe you've always felt different, like you didn't fit into the crowd. Maybe you were the quiet one, the deep thinker, the sensitive soul who could feel things others couldn't even understand. That's not a weakness, that's a spiritual gift. It's a sign that your soul came here with a higher assignment. You weren't just born, you were sent. You were chosen since birth to be a light in dark places, a voice for truth, a vessel for healing. Your spiritual identity has always been quietly guiding you, even when you didn't understand it. That deep ache inside your heart, that yearning to know why you're here, that's your soul remembering its divine path. Many chosen ones go through life being misunderstood, overlooked, or even rejected, not because they're unworthy, but because their light threatens the comfort of darkness. You may have walked through rejection, betrayal, or loss, but those were not punishments. They were spiritual awakenings in disguise. Every storm you've endured has been carving out the strength needed for your mission. You see, the world doesn't shape a chosen one, God does. Your pain has a purpose. Your setbacks were sacred setups. Your loneliness was divine separation, a season of hiddenness so that your spiritual gifts could develop in secret. You weren't meant to blend in. You were meant to break the mold. Inside of you is a compass that doesn't point north. It points to heaven's will. That deep inner knowing, that pull to something greater than yourself, is God whispering, I marked you. I chose you. I've placed my light inside you. You may have questioned your worth. You may have doubted your path. But hear this clearly. You were never forgotten. You were never abandoned. You were chosen. And now you are awakening. This isn't about religion. It's about purpose. It's about identity. It's about knowing that your life was not a random accident, but a divinely orchestrated journey, set in motion by the Creator himself. The time has come for you to rise into your divine destiny and walk fully in the truth of who you are. You are God's chosen one, marked before birth, and called for such a time as this. Even as a child, before the world shaped your beliefs and before you could fully express your thoughts, there was a quiet knowing within you. While others laughed carelessly, played games, and focused on the simple joys of childhood, you often felt different. There was a depth in your eyes, a seriousness in your questions, and a longing in your heart that set you apart. This wasn't imagination. It was early spiritual awareness, one of the clearest indicators that you were marked since birth for something greater. You weren't just a curious child. You were a chosen one awakening to your prophetic identity. You asked questions most adults couldn't answer. What is my purpose? Why do people suffer? What is God's plan for me? Those weren't random thoughts. They were the stirrings of an awakened spirit, a soul reaching out to heaven long before you understood what that meant. While other kids were content with surface-level fun, you were already searching for spiritual truth. Many chosen ones have childhood memories filled with moments of deep emotional sensitivity. Perhaps you cried when others didn't understand why. You felt things deeply, a sad movie, a wounded animal, a broken friendship. It all cut straight to your core. That sensitivity wasn't a weakness. It was a spiritual gift, revealing your ability to feel energy, absorb emotion, and connect with the divine path within you. Were you drawn to nature? Did you feel at peace near trees, water, animals, or under the stars? That's no coincidence. The natural world often speaks to the sensitive souls who are spiritually marked. You could feel the presence of God in quiet places. You saw beauty others overlooked. You sensed energy in rooms before anyone said a word. And what about those dreams? The vivid, symbolic dreams that felt more real than reality? Or the strange coincidences that seemed to follow you? The things you knew but never learned? These are all spiritual signs. They're how God communicates with His chosen, through symbols, dreams, intuitive nudges, and inner knowing. Perhaps you were told to stop daydreaming, to stop being too sensitive. But deep down, something in you resisted the pressure to conform. You knew there was more. That feeling, that unshakable inner voice, was God's way of reminding you. You were never meant to be like everyone else. You were born to see differently, to feel deeper, and to walk a road few can understand. These signs in your childhood weren't random. They were divine confirmations that you were walking in the footsteps of a calling higher than yourself. You were chosen even before you knew what that meant. Marked since birth with a sacred assignment, shaped by experiences no one else could interpret. What felt like loneliness back then was spiritual separation, a necessary preparation for the powerful path ahead. Hold on to those early signs. They weren't just memories. They were messages. God was speaking, and He still is. One of the most undeniable and often painful signs that you're a chosen one is the experience of isolation. It's more than just being alone. It's a deep, soul-level separation that can feel like abandonment, rejection, or even divine silence. But here's the truth. This chosen one's isolation isn't a curse. It's a gift, though it may not feel like one at first. For many of us, this sacred separation began early. Maybe you felt like an outsider in your own family. Maybe friends never truly understood you. Perhaps you struggled to find people who got you, who saw the depths of your soul or the seriousness of your heart. You were never trying to be distant. You just didn't fit into the world the way others seemed to. But that loneliness had a purpose. It was divine preparation. God often isolates those He calls. He sets His chosen ones apart so He can speak to them without distraction. He removes the noise of the world, not as punishment, but as a pathway to spiritual growth. In your moments of stillness, you were being refined. In your solitude, your spirit was being shaped. The prophetic journey doesn't begin in the spotlight. It begins in silence. In isolation, something sacred happens. When you're stripped of distractions, when no one seems to understand you, the voice of God becomes louder. The inner world awakens. You begin to see clearly. You feel deeply. You confront your pain, your patterns, your truth. This is where inner healing begins. Not in the applause, but in the alone time. In the tears that fall in the middle of the night. In the prayers whispered when no one else is listening. This is the place where your spiritual maturity starts to form. Not because life is easy, but because you've walked through fire and still kept your faith. Because you've questioned everything and still held on to hope. Because you've faced the silence and discovered the presence of God inside it. Don't let the world make you feel broken because you've walked alone. That solitude was sacred. That distance was divine. You weren't being forgotten, you were being prepared. Your soul was being calibrated for the mission ahead. The prophetic journey is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who can withstand the loneliness with purpose, the silence with strength, the stillness with surrender. Chosen ones aren't forged in comfort, they're formed in isolation. So if you felt misunderstood, left out, or like no one sees you, take heart. That's not your weakness, it's your sign. You are being readied for something powerful, something eternal. Because when God chooses someone for a higher calling, He pulls them away from the crowd, not to harm them, but to make them whole. You were never alone. You were just in a season of divine preparation. If you're still listening, if these words are stirring something in your soul, then chances are your spiritual awakening is already underway. And let's be clear, awakening isn't some sudden lightning bolt from the sky. No, it's a deeply personal, often uncomfortable, and profoundly sacred journey. is a process, a slow peeling away of illusion, a shaking of everything false so that only truth remains. You may have already noticed it. The chosen one transformation has begun. The things that once satisfied you now feel empty. The relationships that used to make sense now feel misaligned. The job, the routine, the distractions, you begin to see through them. It's not that the world has changed. It's that you have changed. That's the first sign. Your perception sharpens. You start to feel everything more intensely. You pick up on energy. You can sense deception. Your heart reacts to what's real and rejects what's fake. What used to be background noise now feels overwhelming because your spirit is tuning into a higher frequency. That's divine guidance at work. You might feel agitated, restless, disconnected from your old self. This is normal. This is necessary. The discomfort isn't a sign that something's wrong. It's proof that something holy is happening within you. Your soul is shedding its old layers. You're outgrowing the life you once built from survival, not from spiritual truth. That process of shedding what no longer serves you can be painful. You might grieve things you used to love. You might lose people who once felt like home. But don't be afraid of the shedding. It's a sacred release. It's God making space for the new, the real, the divine. Because with every layer you let go of, your prophetic purpose becomes more visible. The fog starts to lift. You begin to recognize your divine path, not just in big moments, but in everyday whispers. You hear God in the wind. You feel purpose in your pain. You know you're not wandering, you're being led. And here's the truth that becomes impossible to ignore. You weren't just called, you were chosen. This isn't a phase. It's not a trend. This is your soul waking up. Your spiritual awakening is proof that you're not ordinary. You are a vessel for something eternal. You've been entrusted with a light that the world desperately needs. And that light is growing brighter with every moment you surrender, every truth you embrace, every step you take in faith. The path won't always be easy, but it will always be sacred. You're not who you used to be, and that's the point. This is your chosen transformation. This is the beginning of everything. One of the deepest wounds a chosen one carries is the pain of being misunderstood. You walk into a room and without saying a word, people judge you. They project onto you. Some feel threatened by your presence. Others criticize or mock you for no clear reason. You've asked yourself more than once, why do they treat me this way? I haven't done anything to deserve this. But here's the truth. This pain isn't personal. It's spiritual. As a misunderstood chosen one, your very presence carries divine light. And that light, it illuminates things in others they would rather keep hidden. Your inner power stirs something uncomfortable in them, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're reflecting something real. You are a spiritual mirror, and not everyone is ready to see what's staring back at them. Sometimes, it's your peace that unsettles others. Other times, it's your confidence, your clarity, your refusal to conform. Your energy speaks volumes without you even opening your mouth. And when your spirit carries divine truth, it disrupts falsehood just by existing. This is why spiritual conflict follows the chosen. Not because they seek it, but because the truth they carry exposes what's false in others. You may have lost friends along the way. You may have been distanced from your own family. People who should have protected you, loved you, supported you. Instead, they doubted you. They laughed at your dreams. They dismissed your divine calling. But again, it's not about you being wrong. It's about them not being ready. Jealousy plays its part too. People see your strength, your resilience, your deep connection to something higher, and it shakes them. Your faith, your glow, your unshakable spirit, it makes others question themselves. And rather than do the inner work, some will choose to reject you instead. But listen closely, you were never meant to blend in. You were born to stand out. God didn't anoint you for approval. He anointed you for impact. Your purpose isn't to be liked. It's to be authentic, even if that means walking alone. Even if that means carrying this sacred pain in silence. You are not alone in it. This is part of the refining process, a sacred test. You're being prepared not just to rise, but to rise strong with humility, with grace, and with an unshakable identity in God. So the next time you're judged, criticized, or excluded, don't shrink. Shine brighter. Let their discomfort be confirmed. Let their rejection be redirection. Because every time someone misunderstands you, heaven understands you even more. You're not broken. You're not wrong. You're chosen. And being misunderstood, that's just part of the cost of carrying such a powerful divine light. God did not call you without equipping you. He didn't choose you and then leave you empty-handed. No, when you were marked as a chosen one, you were also entrusted with spiritual gifts, powerful, divine tools uniquely crafted for your purpose-driven life. And maybe, for years, you didn't even know they were there. Maybe you questioned your worth, your capabilities, or your significance. But let this be your divine reminder. Everything you need has already been placed inside of you. You may possess the gift of healing, able to ease emotional wounds just by listening, or bring comfort through your presence alone. Perhaps you've been given the gift of discernment, a supernatural ability to sense people's true intentions or recognize spiritual truth beneath worldly distractions. You might carry deep empathy not as a weakness but as a weapon. You feel deeply because you're wired to connect, to understand, to restore what others cannot. Your anointed abilities might show up in unexpected ways. Maybe your words hold weight. People stop and listen when you speak because your voice carries spiritual authority. Or maybe it's your calm, your peace, your silence even, that becomes a sanctuary for others. And sometimes your gift is in your struggle. The very pain you've endured, the battles you've fought, the trauma you've overcome, those scars are now your ministry. You've walked through the fire so you could lead others through their own. Let that sink in. Your life is not random. Your pain was not pointless. It was all shaping you into a chosen vessel, one equipped with power, clarity, and compassion. These spiritual gifts were never meant to be hidden. They're not just for you, they're for the people you're called to help. They are divine tools, placed in your hands by God Himself, designed to push light into dark places. So don't downplay them. Don't let fear or self-doubt bury what heaven has planted. Don't wait for the world's validation before you start walking in your chosen empowerment. God gave you these gifts for a reason. It's time to honor them, sharpen them, use them, because the world desperately needs your light. It needs your truth. It needs your gifts in full force. You are not just another soul wandering through life. You are on a divine mission. You are chosen, anointed, and fully equipped. So step boldly into your calling. Let your gifts flow without apology. This is your time. This is your purpose. And these gifts, they are your sacred proof that you were made for more. One of the most undeniable truths about being a chosen one is this: you are not here for yourself alone. Your life, your journey, your transformation, it's all part of a sacred mission that goes far beyond your personal growth. God chose you not just to carry light, but to spread it. Not just to rise, but to help others rise with you. You were chosen to lead, but not in the way the world defines leadership. This is servant leadership, a divine responsibility that flows from a heart anchored in compassion, humility, and spiritual wisdom. Whether you're guiding a family, inspiring through your voice, helping the broken find healing, or simply being a light in dark places, you are participating in a divine service that shifts lives and reshapes destinies. Your spiritual responsibility isn't about preaching or performing. It's about living with intention. It's about letting your actions echo God's love, truth, and mercy. It's about uplifting others, even when no one is watching. You might not always feel like a leader. You might doubt your impact, but your simple kindness, your honest words, your steady presence, that's spiritual guidance in motion. You plant seeds with every act of grace, even if you never see the harvest. Chosen ones often find themselves in roles they didn't ask for: mentors, listeners, healers, teachers. And yet, every one of those roles is sacred. Every time you help someone see their worth, every time you remind them they're not alone, you fulfill your chosen one purpose. And here's the key: service doesn't mean self-sacrifice. You're not called to drain yourself. You're called to pour from a place of divine overflow. True service begins when you serve from fullness, from wholeness, from your connection to God's infinite source. Your calling is not to be a martyr. Your calling is to embody love, fiercely, honestly, and without apology. The world is full of pain, confusion, and darkness. But you've been equipped to walk into that darkness and bring light. You've been called to be a living reminder that hope still exists, that truth still matters, that healing is still possible. This is what it means to be chosen. So, embrace your spiritual responsibility. Don't shrink back from it. Don't wait for perfection. Just show up with love, with light, with unwavering faith. Because when you live from your divine calling, you become a beacon, a lighthouse in a storm, a vessel through which God moves powerfully. You were chosen not just to awaken, but to serve. And through your service, others will awaken too. Being a chosen one isn't a crown you wear, it's a cross you carry. And while the world may never see the battles you fight, deep inside, you know the weight of your calling. Because the greatest war isn't out there, it's within. You wake up some days gripped by self-doubt, questioning your worth. You hear that inner voice whispering, "Who do you think you are?" You carry the heaviness of imposter syndrome, wondering if you're meant to walk this divine path. These aren't signs of weakness. These are signs you're in the middle of your spiritual testing. God allows these internal struggles not to break you, but to build you. Each wave of fear is a tool meant to forge your divine resilience. Each moment of confusion is a fire refining your soul. You're not being punished, you're being prepared. This journey isn't about pretending to be fearless. It's about choosing faith over fear, again and again, even when you're trembling. Standing tall when your knees are shaking. It's trusting that the God who called you will carry you through. You see, chosen growth doesn't happen in comfort. It's birthed in the dark, in the moments when no one else sees the tears, the prayers, the doubts. It's in those raw moments that your spirit stretches, your wisdom deepens, and your strength multiplies. Every chosen one faces emotional warfare because you're a threat to darkness. Your light disturbs the enemy. Your purpose disrupts strongholds. So yes, you'll wrestle, you'll question, you'll feel the weight. But don't forget, diamonds are formed under pressure, and so are divine warriors. This is the sacred path of the chosen, to endure when it's easier to escape, to speak the truth when it's safer to be silent, to love when it's easier to guard your heart. Your spiritual breakthrough comes not from avoiding the battle, but from walking through it. One step, one prayer, one surrender at a time. God never said the road would be easy, but He did say you wouldn't walk it alone. Every tear you've cried is watering your purpose. Every trial you've faced is carving the strength of a prophet into your bones. Every doubt you've conquered has stretched your capacity to trust. So, the next time that inner war begins, remember, you are not weak. You are being refined. You are not lost. You are being led. You are not broken. You are being built. This is your chosen strength, to rise amid struggle, to keep going when you have every reason to quit, to trust that God is using it all for your glory, your growth, and His divine plan. Living as a chosen one is not just about believing in your calling. It's about living it daily. This sacred journey demands more than faith. It requires alignment. Every part of your life, your habits, your relationships, your inner thoughts, must rise to match the vibration of your prophetic path. You were never meant to settle. You were never meant to fit in where your spirit doesn't resonate. When you are divinely aligned, your soul can breathe. Your actions begin to reflect your higher purpose. You feel lighter, clearer, and more connected to the flow of God's will. But alignment takes courage. It means you must release what no longer fits. The people who drain your energy, the routines that stifle your growth, the thoughts that pull you out of peace. Letting go isn't a loss. It's a spiritual detox. And as you cleanse your life of what's false, you make room for what is divine. True purpose-driven living is intentional. It's waking up and asking, does this choice move me closer to God's plan for me? It's not always glamorous. Sometimes it means sitting in silence when the world screams for your attention. Sometimes it means walking away from comfort to step into growth. But this is what it means to walk in spiritual balance, to choose peace over pressure, truth over trends, and obedience over ease. As you raise your vibration, you'll notice a shift. You'll crave different things. Your spirit will pull you away from drama, distractions, and deception. You'll start to live at a higher frequency, where joy feels deeper and clarity becomes second nature. This is not accidental. It's the unfolding of your prophetic path. Spend time in self-reflection. Honor your intuition. It is your divine compass. Pay attention to the inner nudges, the signs, the still, small voice that speaks through your spirit. Is God guiding you back to alignment, back to the path where your light shines brightest? And don't rush the process. God's timing is perfect. Everything you've endured, every heartbreak, every delay, every detour, it was all part of the divine blueprint. Even your pain had a purpose. Even your waiting was working for your becoming. Now is your time to step fully into your destiny, to move with power and grace, to live a life that reflects your calling, not just in words, but in how you love, serve, speak, and show up. When you align with your higher calling, heaven moves with you. Doors open, peace flows, favor follows, and the world begins to see what God always knew, that you were chosen, and now you are ready. We are standing at the edge of a great shift. All across the globe, something sacred is stirring. A spiritual movement has begun. The veil is lifting, the truth is rising, and so are the chosen ones. If you're still here, still listening, still feeling these words deep in your spirit, it's because you are part of this rise. You are not watching by coincidence. You are here by divine alignment. The world is crying out for light, for truth, for real love, and God is calling his warriors forward. This is not the time to shrink. This is not the time to stay silent. This is the divine uprising, and your voice, your presence, your calling is needed now more than ever. You may have walked through darkness. You may have been broken, betrayed, or overlooked, but none of it was wasted. Every test shaped you. Every loss refined you. Every scar carries the mark of your mission. And now, it's your time to rise. The rise of the chosen isn't loud or flashy. It's sacred. It happens in quiet hearts that choose obedience over ego, in awakened souls who carry the truth into dark places, in people like you, humble, faithful, and ready. You are a spiritual leader whether you've claimed the title or not. You don't need a pulpit to preach. Your life is your message. Your resilience is your sermon. Your love is your ministry. You were born for such a time as this. So what does it mean to rise? It means walking in prophetic calling even when the world doesn't understand. It means choosing light in a world that rewards shadows. It means becoming a beacon, steadfast, humble, and powerful in spirit. You are not alone in this. All over the world, chosen ones are awakening. We feel the same pull. We hear the same call. And together, we are becoming the living proof that God's plan is unfolding. This isn't just your rise, it's ours. A holy remnant rising in love. A spiritual army led by divine truth. A collective echo of God's voice, saying, "Now is the time. Chosen one, hear me now. You were never a mistake. You were marked by God before you were born. Your gifts are not random. Your battles were not in vain. Everything you've experienced points to a greater truth. You have been chosen for something sacred. So rise, speak, shine, walk boldly in your divine light. If this message stirred something inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Subscribe, share, and drop a comment below. Let's build this spiritual family together. Let's rise, united in purpose, power, and divine love. This is your calling. This is your time. You are chosen.